Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another reaction. Today we have Undying Macula, which I can only hear it as Dracula Macula, even though that makes no sense. That's just how my brain is accepting this title. So I'm going to personally call it that. I'm not saying you have to. Obviously, it's not the right title. Either way, this is by Ashrount, who I've heard work from before, but it was a collaboration with the Dice. So I am somewhat familiar with Ashrount as a name. I saw it appear in the list, and I'm like, oh, I immediately recognized the name, probably just because it's a fairly unique name. Either way, I'm going to hear whatever Dracula Macula has in store for me, and I guess without further ado, let's go! Ooh, okay, starting strong. It's got a really sharp bite to it. No pun intended to the Dracula bullshit. It just does. It's got this sharpness to the high end. Oh, that was weird. I don't hate it, though. Like, whatever happened there, it's working. That was a weird pattern, too. Damn! Woo. Now I'm sitting here like, what genre is this? I don't even know if this has one. It feels almost too broad to be complextro. Like it's got too many other genres in there that I would not associate with complextro. Little sound design stuff, you know I love it. That again. That's such an aggressive cut, having that happen in there. Okay, I was like, was that the end? Always gotta have a music box somewhere in this general influence of sound. Ooh, keeping up with the double time. A 3/4 double time is always a good time. This is so complicated. Well, that's also the reason moments like this at the end where everything just kind of starts to trickle out, feels more profound in a weird way. It's just the contrast, I suppose, of having like a song be that complex and then leaving you with very little going on at the end and allowing you that time to like let it breathe and figure it all out. It sounds so beautiful, but at the same time, it's like there's so much happening that like your brain starts to kind of get lost in it. I've got to correct my timeline here because I don't remember if I made any specific comments the last time I heard something with Ashrount involved that the production was super clean, because I'm assuming with hearing this that the other one also was. I feel like I really enjoyed Lament Rain. I didn't like look to see what my opinion was of that before coming to this one, but I also feel like it would be entirely inaccurate if I didn't like that one based on what this song was. And obviously there was somebody else involved with the other one, but damn, like the cleanliness of it, the level of, again, of complexity. This is why I'm not sure if it's complextro, because it's kind of in the name of that, but there's so much more to this. They have other elements coming in here. Complextro doesn't tend to usually have like more orchestral elements in it and more like waltzy stuff. That's definitely not the sound they go for. Albeit there are some songs that do and still fit within that genre. So I'm like, damn, like where does this fit? Does it fit anywhere? Is it just Ashrount? You know, like, is that the genre here? It's just the musician. I do feel that with a lot of music anymore. The genres don't tend to matter at all, but it does kind of start giving you a little bit more a conversation of what the actual context of the song is when you have a genre. But music is so overly complex now in every single genre, and trying to fine-tune the deciding factors of what makes which genre what doesn't really exist anymore. So whatever the genre happens to be, I'm going to call this Ashrount. This is really fucking cool. Beautiful in the sound design. If you've watched any of my videos on any song similar to this, you know how much I adore the sound design, because that's where all the story is in these, and that's very much the same thing here. I was hearing like the heartbeats, the like breathing in there, just like that stress, the clock ticking was all in there, and the whole time I'm hearing it, I'm like, man, there's just so many layers. It was almost difficult at times to be able to piece out those details and be like, man, where's the story? But the really big parts, when they slowed it down and allowed you to actually process that, that's the stuff I'm talking about, where I could actually hear it and go, aha, like those moments with the music box, for example, just really settling down and allowing you to have that room to breathe, which is something I talk about basically ad nauseum. Is when you have a song that's so complex, you need room for the listener to breathe. You need time for that to really settle in and have them process it. That's why at the end I was like, ooh, and I allowed myself that time to really think about what just happened, even though the whole ending was a little bit softer than the rest. You're actively processing through a listen every single time, no matter who you are, and allowing ample time for the listener to actually get it is a difficult balance to hit. And there are a lot of people who don't quite hit that balance. And then there's also some genres that don't require that balance, and the point is to be overwhelming. Like, I think a lot of hardcore stuff, or like hard style especially, really is designed around that idea. There is no need for like deep, complicated thought when it comes to it. You're just kind of going, you know, and like that's the value of it. But for songs like this that have a little bit more to it, and again, the sound design, that room to think matters a lot more. And I think that Ashrount made a beautiful song with this one. I don't really know what the exact story is of this, like, despite what I could hear in the sound design and everything, and there is clearly like a story coming through. I feel like this is kind of similar to a very fresh experience listening to the Viella line of work from Lauer, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. I'm not entirely positive what that story is, because I've been given the requests for those out of order, so I'm kind of having to piecemeal together the thoughts of what all that is. This song, obviously, I don't have that problem, you know, like I'm assuming this isn't like a direct sequel to Lament Rain in any way, but the story itself is so aggressive and there's so much happening layered on top of itself that I would need a few listens to truly be able to understand what's going on. And I tend not to over listen to the music after I do a reaction. Sometimes I'll go back and listen to it a few times if I'm like breaking down the music theory stuff involved, the piano parts. That is still a factor of this song, but given that the song is more electronic than it is the orchestration that has more of that structure for chords and everything, I didn't feel the desire to do that for this one. That is something that is also ad nauseum with me. It's like, if it's an electronic song, a lot of the time it tends to focus around just a couple of chords, and it's more simple in that way. There's a lot of complexity here, but it's, again, more in the sound design than I would say the actual composition. A lot more of the stuff is just scales at large, so I'm not going to get into that and like how it speaks to you and like tells you the story, because a lot more of that detail is in the sound design specifically. This is one of those videos where I'm able to just hear the song and then start yapping about it, because it has so much happening and there's so many little details that I'm like, I need to just get this out in the stream of consciousness instead of just breaking it down and like really tearing it apart to tiny details within that musically. This is definitely a story piece, and that's what I think makes it so interesting. The mixing as well, I'm not going to get too deep into that because there's not too much to really dig into it. I just want to say it's really fucking spicy. It's really good. It's very, very crispy on that high end, and I like that, especially in this sort of a sound profile. There needs to be some of that bite. And what I mean by bite is literally just that like sharpness that's kind of just sizzles in at the top. And you can hear that, especially through like flat headphones like mine. You can feel how this just kind of like cuts in aggressively at the top, and the bass is still well balanced. And that's not something a lot of producers end up getting right in their mixing and mastering. A lot of the time it favors either the high or low end, and a lot of the mids are just kind of muddy and forgotten about. This is one of those producers, a rare talent, honestly, where you can get all of these frequencies lined up and balance them so perfectly that they don't step on each other's toes, and they're just beautifully clean all the way through. There wasn't a single time while listening to this song that I thought that there was a frequency out of place, and that is, again, a very rare thing for me. I do hear some great ones pretty often, but I never hear ones that are this clear. This is like maybe a once every couple of months level of musical clarity, and that is, again, a skill beyond talent. Whether or not that's something they focused on or it's just something they were more or less naturally born with, the ear to be able to piece those apart. I can hear it myself, but I cannot do it myself. Like, I'm really not that great at mixing and mastering personally, but I can hear when somebody does it right, and I can process that. I just don't know how they get to the end goal in the DAW of choice. Like, it's just something that's a little far beyond me quite yet in my general musical interest and career. So props to Ashrount for just being able to get that all together. And again, this is a banger of a track. I have been yapping effectively nonstop. I think I had to stop and cut out once or twice maybe in this entire video, but I think I'm good here. So thank you all so very much for watching, and thank you to Stars of Quarterly who requested me to get to this one, and my executive producers. I don't think I mentioned that earlier in the video, but now I have. And if you want to request something, by all means, you can go do that in my Patreon. If the tier is open, you can force me to listen to whatever you want. Doesn't matter who it's by, what it's from, if it's good or bad. None of that matters. That's why it's a guarantee. But if you don't want to do any of that, maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that. And I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!